Hello. Today I am here to tell you all those little methods that tell you can learn a language in 30 days, 60 days are liars and you're wasting your time. Wasting your time. Waste of time. Now, can you probably get to A1, A2, or maybe B1 with these methods? Probably, for sure. But fluency? No, babes. So, I'm a person that loves languages, and I'm pretty sure that the persons watching also do love languages as well, which is why you're here. But I'm at like this crossroads where I feel like I'm not progressing. I have regression, and I want to make a change. I want to make a difference. I want to do something new to really get me to the place that I want to be with my languages. Currently, I'm juggling three languages: Spanish, Italian, and Chinese. And I'm at varying levels of proficiency with them, varying levels of success and failure with my attempts to teach myself these languages. And I'm going to go through them right now, as well as highlighting the methods that I've tried, what worked and what didn't. And also, hopefully, through this video series on my YouTube channel that I'm creating, I can be more consistent and show you what I'm doing to practice and learn languages. So, without further ado, here we go. I began learning languages with Spanish. That was the first love. That was the one that really kicked everything off. And I was learning in school from the age of 12. And really and truly, I like traditional approach to learning languages. I know like there's a lot of critiques out there about it, and I'll get into that, like why I like it. The second one that I learned was Italian. That was the one that I first tried the self-taught method, and it was, I guess, a little easier to like teach myself the language because it's so similar to Spanish. And even though there are some like grammar differences, of course, and vocabulary, it's not too bad. Hence, like I had progressed a decent amount with it in the times that I was most consistent. And then the last one is Mandarin, which I picked up technically around 2021, but I can't really say that those were the times I was putting the most energy into it. It's been really on and off because when I picked it up, I'm in medical school. That's another thing. I was a medical student. I graduated. Now I'm working as a doctor. Anyway, I was in medical school, struggling out, fighting for my life, fighting, and it just wasn't easy to balance Mandarin and my studies. I know there's a YouTuber here um, that got really good in Mandarin as a medical student, and I'm like, big up to you, bro. I don't know if he's still studying medicine now, but it wasn't gonna be me. I wasn't good at balancing both of them, and I wasn't taking any classes. I was just trying to do it on my own by myself, and I don't think I had the discipline and the structure to really make that work. Now I'm gonna tell you the methods that I tried. So starting off with traditional learning, as I said, me, I love a class. I love a language class. It has community, it has direction, the teacher is guiding you step by step. And I thrived in those classes as a Spanish learner. I will say I felt like the first couple years of learning Spanish with a class, I had okay grades, like it'd be A's and B's, but in my mind I was like, I feel like I should be getting better grades for Spanish because I really wanted to learn it. At a point, I was thinking about going to Cuba and studying medicine. So I'm like, I need to be good in Spanish, and the classroom alone is just not gonna cut it. But I did like, learning things step by step, having explanation as to why this is so and all of that, it really made the language a lot easier to understand in terms of structurally. But speaking and writing still was something that I needed to improve on. And I said, okay, let me try something new. That introduces method two. I started talking with persons online. And I felt like that made my Spanish go soups. It made it go up because I was now using it in day-to-day conversations that you just don't get in class because you're talking about regular stuff, while in class it's mostly around like some scenario that the textbook creates or the teacher creates, and it's not always engaging and stuff like that. So when you're talking to a real life person, it allows you to use words that you probably wouldn't have used in the classroom, as well as put in the concepts that you're learning in classroom in day-to-day life. It's engaging if you have an engaging language partner, which I ain't gonna lie to you, that wasn't always the case. That was not always the case. And that's also why I didn't always rely on this method, because when you have a good language partner, it's amazing. It's great. You're learning a lot. They're consistent, and you guys are making progress together. They're correcting the stuff that you send in text or voice messages. I didn't like calls because I felt like it was too anxiety inducing. I get a lot of anxiety when I try to speak in a foreign language, and video calls would be even worse. But the voice messages and texts helped a lot, especially for the school purposes, because that's a lot of stuff that we'd be doing. At least I get the time to think, create my sentences, and then respond. However, you don't always get like those good language learning partners that are helpful and fun. A lot of times I meet into some boring conversations. You have to be like sifting through like all these messages to find someone that could really be like your type of person, your vibe. And then sometimes you think you find your vibe and then they just ghost you. I'm gonna lie, I've been the ghoster too. So I'm not gonna be like, oh, it's never been me. I've done it, so I'm guilty as charged. And you also have lots of other issues. Maybe I should make a video about like my experience on language learning apps. Anyway, so the next thing I implemented around that time was using apps. Not just language learning, but apps that were specific towards teaching the language. I like the gamified versions of it that were free because I was broke, ain't got no money. So I use, of course, Duolingo and a few others. I'll make another video about that. And yeah, that's how I was learning language for a long time. And then I introduced as well Anki. And I would say that Anki did a lot for me, especially when I was learning Italian, because as I said, this is self-taught. I don't really have much structure, but I found Anki decks that were suitable for persons that are beginners, and it helped me formulate sentences and use expressions that I didn't come across in the language learning apps that are out there. And yeah, it was like really, it's a good app because it works on helping you to remember stuff just before you're about to forget it. However, it's just not very engaging. Me, I like a gamified kind of version of stuff. It helps me with consistency and so on. And Anki was rather boring, I must be honest. So I just wasn't very consistent with it. And yeah, those were all methods that I've tried in terms of, oh no, that's a lie. The last one is comprehensible input. This one is more recent because um, I went on to Reddit and I was like, guys, I've been studying Spanish for now over 10 years, but I'm not like fluent. I feel like there's so many deficits. What can I do? And someone had recommended Dreaming Spanish as a good site to go to really bring myself out of that plateau. And I found Dreaming Spanish really awesome. However, like, I don't really agree with their premise that all you need is just to listen and then you'll become fluent. I'm pretty sure you'll have amazing comprehension skills. But if you never practice to talk, then you just don't talk very well. Like me. I didn't talk much, so I don't talk very well. And I feel like I got a lot out of dreaming Spanish, but I wonder how much I would have gotten out of it and felt the benefit of it if I didn't have a foundation in reading and writing Spanish already. I just don't know it would have been as great of a benefit as it is now, being that I have that background. And I try to use comprehensible input for Italian and Chinese, but I felt like the content that's available for beginners is just not engaging enough for me to be consistent on a long term basis. And if you really want to see like the real benefits of the method, it's very important to get, you know, an hour, 2 hours, even better, 3 hours from the content to really see progress over time. Because the less that you watch on a day to day basis, the slower the process, and maybe it doesn't really do much for you. And that's what I was experiencing with Italian and Chinese. I felt like there wasn't enough content and variety of content that I would find interesting. So I just didn't get my hours in for that. And I had even like calculated how much hours I need to spend to really get to a point that I can now see substantial change. And to be honest, it would have taken me up to a year. So yeah, I realized it's just not the method for me. So those are all the methods that I have used to like practice the languages that I'm interested in, and really and truly I'm really putting it out to you guys. What do you think I should be doing to, you know, get better in these languages? Honestly, I don't think that any of these methods that I've used in the past were bad per se, because they did what they needed to do. It's really probably was just a consistency thing, as well as some things are just not for you. I'm very much an entertainment, also engagement type person. I love interactions and stuff like that. I feel like when I feel involved, I learn a lot better. So maybe I just need things that will get me involved physically, mentally, and that is what will I'll get the most results from. And I think the last thing that I'm probably going to do in future is I'm going to start doing tutoring, not as a tutor, as the student. I think I'm gonna go through with one of the tutoring apps, either Preply or italki, and get me a tutor specifically for Mandarin, because I feel like that one I'm making zero progress where I'm at this point on my own. I really need the guidance, especially pronunciation. So, guys, that's all for this video. Like, comment, and subscribe if you care, and I'll see you guys in the next one.